So I've been making YouTube videos for almost a year now, and I've looked forward to making every single one of them, except for this one. Keep watching, and I'll tell you why. So why am I not looking forward to making this video? About 26 days ago, I got a notice from my landlord that we have to close down the studio. So January 20th, which is about 3 weeks from now, would have been our 39th anniversary. We got to close down. Now, yeah, I could open up another studio because we've had 3 locations. We first started and all 3 have been in Fort Lauderdale. We started on Oakland Park Boulevard, 1983 to 1993. We moved to Federal Highway, next to a famous Italian restaurant called Cafe Vico, from 1993 to 2014. That was 21 years there. And then 7 years at our current location, which is on Federal Highway, right next to Whole Foods and Lululemon. It was just this phenomenal shopping center. One of the reasons why we're moving, the shopping center price went up so high that we just had no choice. So could I open another studio? Sure, but having opened the studio for so long, it's time to change. It's time to change the paradigm. So even though I'm choosing not to open another studio, it's closing this not chapter in my life. This is a whole lifetime, 39 years of being a studio owner and focusing on and being concerned with the classes and the substitutes and fixing the air conditioning and all the logistics that go into opening and running a yoga studio. And the joy that's come out of this experience has been overwhelming. I've turned people on to yoga for 39 years. To actually close my doors is an emotional thing. Now, we're about to have our last class in 4 days. On Thursday, December 30th, 2021. So by the time you're seeing this video, we've already had that last class. It's going to be pretty intense. It's going to be an emotional class for me, because just to say goodbye as a studio owner, I consider us to be an institution in Fort Lauderdale. 39 years for any studio is, I think a major accomplishment. So to actually close the doors and say goodbye to Fort Lauderdale, it's very hard. It's emotional, and I'm trying to figure out the actual words to say, and I'm trying to make it exciting and YouTube ready. But at the same time, I'm not looking forward to that last class. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, I am, and I'm not looking forward to teaching that last class, the very end of it, and then closing the doors and handing the key over to the landlord, and that's it. I'm done. I mean, I'm not finished teaching yoga, and we're joining forces with Corbin Stacy, who is a Barkan graduate from 2011. He opened his studio in 2017. He has a beautiful studio, and he's been so gracious to open his doors at 9:15 a.m. Monday through Friday. Is going to be designated for the Barkan method class, and I'm going to be teaching many of those classes on a weekly basis. I'm not saying goodbye to yoga. I'm not saying goodbye to South Florida, but what I am saying goodbye to is Fort Lauderdale. I'm saying goodbye to opening a studio and having a studio for such a long time in Fort Lauderdale, and I am very sad about it. And I am very sad about closing those doors. I wish we could have gone to 40 years. Just a number. It's just a number. But 40 years would have been great. I've recently made a few videos like this one here on my personal journey, my personal story. And I talked a little bit about the beginnings of opening a yoga studio, but I want to share a couple stories with you of what happened, the progression of the studio throughout the years. I remember in 1982, I really didn't even want to open a studio right away. I wanted to maybe teach in a health club or a spa or a gym, build up a following. It was my dad who talked me into, he says, you know what, we just open the studio, we just open up the doors and just do it. So he's the one that encouraged me to just dive right in. So that's exactly what we did. And my dad's not here. My dad passed away in 2002. And he built the school for me. He paid for the school. He's the one that encouraged me to come to South Florida. He's the reason why we're in Fort Lauderdale. I really wish he was alive to at least witness the last class, to see what we've accomplished over the times, because if it wasn't for him, we would not have had that school. My dad and I were very close. He's the reason why I moved to Fort Lauderdale. He's the reason why I moved to South Florida. I wasn't going to move here. I was going to go to Newport Beach, California. Bikram wanted me to go there too because it was much closer to Bikram. But my dad talked me into coming to South Florida. So I remember back in 1983, we were a couple weeks before we're about to open the studio, and I'm sitting where I would have been sitting to teach, which is right in the middle of the class. We had a big futon chair in the old days. Bikram had a futon chair too. I just copied what Bikram did in Beverly Hills. And so I remember sitting right around that area where the chair was going to be. And I say to myself, I was so enthralled with the construction, the mirrors, when the mirrors are coming in, when's the floor coming in? And I said to myself, hold on, this is all going to be over very soon. And now you're going to be teaching yoga every single day, 6 classes a day. Start getting your mindset into this concept of teaching yoga every single day. 6 classes were too much. And about 6 months into that, I changed it to 5 classes. But then I taught 5 classes a day for almost 18 years, which is pretty much insane. I mean, Bikram did the same thing. And when Bikram would go to India, I would fly to Los Angeles, teach 4 classes a day for him for free. I'd actually have to pay my teachers to take over to sub my classes. But that's what we did. We taught every single class, except for the advanced class, and I practiced it with them. And then on a class 2, I would practice that class with them. But I taught every single class. But what was interesting is that as the years progressed, and I started to train yoga teachers, and I started putting more yoga teachers on the schedule and teaching less classes, that's when my studio really started to take off. And that's, I'm saying that humbly, because if a person didn't like the way I taught, it didn't like my class, they weren't going to come back. But now they had all these different other teachers and the different personalities. So my teachers, which I'm also very sad to say goodbye to, were a major reason why the school did so well. Right around 1995, Raquel Welch, who was an avid Bikram student, I actually did class with Raquel Welch many times in Los Angeles. She comes out with this yoga book and a yoga video. It was pretty much 100% the Bikram sequence. In fact, Bikram sued her and they had a big settlement. That's how he bought his house in Beverly Hills, from that settlement. That sort of sparked his whole lawsuit craze, which we're not going to get into. But 1995 was a big deal because that started to bring our type of yoga to a lot more people. But 5 years later, right around 2000, 2001, that was a big leap for yoga in the West, especially in the United States. Because Madonna announces she's going to throw out all her weights and just do yoga. So now that was a big thing. And then Christy Turlington is on the cover of Time magazine. And then she and Rodney Yee go on to Oprah Winfrey, all about how wonderful yoga is. And yoga then started to explode. And then I remember it was the year 2000 was the first year that we hit 100 students that were coming on a daily basis. We had 100 students for the very first time, and that was a monumental time for the Barkan method. But then in 2002, Bikram and I split, and I keep promising to make a video on why Bikram and I split. I will do that another time. That's another emotional video. But we split in 2002. In 2003, I started my own style of yoga based on Bikram yoga, based from Vishnu Ghosh, and I still honor that lineage. But in 2005 is when we branded my style of yoga the Barkan method. 2005, and that's when I started doing teacher training programs, and I had the privilege of teaching people that came to my trainings in Fort Lauderdale. Again, Fort Lauderdale is very dear to my heart because this is the headquarters, the hub of Barkan method, and they went all over the world teaching the Barkan method. And now we have hubs or Barkan method teachers and studios in Switzerland and Iceland and Australia and Japan and Thailand, who I am missing, and Hungary, and of course all around the United States. Peru. No, I might have missed a few countries, and I'm sorry that I did that. And like I said, we've had 3 locations over the years. The last location was an extraordinary location for us, right on Federal Highway, lots of signage, right next to Lululemon and Whole Foods. But what I've learned in my life, the only thing you can count on is change, and now change is going to come. We're about to have that last class, which I know is going to be an emotional class. as a studio owner. Like I say, even though I'm not leaving, even though I'm going up to Pompano Beach, even though the Barkan method now will continue to thrive through the YouTube channel, through our on-demand channel, through our teacher training programs, which I'm going to continue to do, but to no longer be a studio owner is going to be pretty intense for me. People ask me maybe what was the secret of my success. Never to look back. I'm always looking ahead. I'm always, where's my next step? Where am I going next? I remember when we moved from the last location to our current location, I wasn't emotional about it at all because I knew I was going to the next studio, and where's the next step? I'm looking to the future at all times. But that being said, closing my doors, Barkan Method studio owner, it's a pretty emotional time. And so I say goodbye to Fort Lauderdale as a studio owner. It was an honor for me to have taught you all these years, and I please hope that it's not going to be goodbye, and I hope to see you again in all these other outlets. But as a studio owner for Fort Lauderdale, I say goodbye.